Hello there, my name is Lou Wieland, and I publish the official relocation guides for Atlanta that are distributed by the First Multiple Listing Service of Atlanta. And the First Multiple Listing Service houses all the listings for real estate, residential, and more commercial properties in Atlanta. And actually now we're expanding into Alabama and other in Florida and other areas. We have about 60,000 realtors who are members of FMLS who use this website daily for information to conduct their work. They need that for training. They need it for obtain the listings and to post their listings. And for the last 30 years, I've published community profiles. We have one for the North Fulton area, one for Cobb County, one for Atlanta, one for Gwinnett. And they are at the 3 FMLS stores where realtors shop for supplies. They're also in all of the realtor offices throughout the metro area where realtors can pick them up and for distribution to their clients. The magazines are drifting more towards a kind of commercial bent as well as residential. In the past, it was mostly residential, but even FMLS is shifting to more commercial listings, for rent and so forth. And I'm also a realtor with KW Commercial, and my focus is land and office space and multifamily. And I've been doing this for about 5 years because of my knowledge of the area. It's just kind of diversified into the residential space. If I can help you with any of your real estate matters, my email is lou@louwieland.com, and my website is louwieland.com. So anyway, we interview community leaders regularly and have been doing so for, 12 years, and have interviewed most of the mayors, and Governor Kemp's been on the show periodically, and people who are contributing greatly to the well-being of our community. And today I'm pleased to have introduced to everybody who's not met the mayor of Roswell, Mayor Kurt Wilson. Mayor, welcome to the show. It's for the first time. It's nice to meet you, and it's nice to have you on the show, and thank you for your generous contribution of time.
Lou, thanks for having me. It's a great pleasure to be with you today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you do in our community and for our surrounding sister cities. Thank you for being a realtor. That we have so many great realtors here in the city of Roswell that do such a great job for our community. It's a great community to be a realtor in.
I agree very much, and thank you for your service to our nation and the military. Appreciate all the contributions that you've made through that.
It's a long time ago. It's over 40 years ago. It's hard to believe.
I know, time does fly.
Like that.
Especially raising 4 daughters like you have. That makes time fly too, I guess.
It's, I use a lot of bad jokes a lot of time, Lou, but they're unfortunately true. With 5 women in my house, at 60 years of age, all the testosterone in my body is gone. I'm 100% estrogen.
Well, okay, I'm not going to touch that one, but.
What made me a better person, obviously, right? This made me a much better person. The 5 women in my life have dramatically improved me. That there is no doubt.
Whatever you say, Mayor, I'll go. But also, I was reading the bio that Julie sent over, your assistant there, or I guess the marketing director for the city PR. It's a very impressive bio, and it just points out that, reading between the lines, throughout your life, you've dedicated yourself to integrity and character and morals and values. And it's certainly, as a resident of Roswell, it's a great pleasure to be in a city with a mayor who dedicates himself to those kinds of virtues. So thank you very much for your leadership.
Thank you for saying that. I cannot attest to any of those. I am unbelievably blessed by Almighty God, and who has, created a path for me that I do a woeful job of following. And I have been blessed with incredible people in my life consistently, just time after time. I made this joke, but my wife is my wife is the rock star of our family. She is the bedrock of our family. We have 4 tremendous daughters, 4 tremendous human beings because of the incredible person that my wife is. And just like here at City Hall, the staff here is amazing. I will tell you that the city council, the elected people here are fantastic. I think that if of all of our fellow residents got to meet them and get spend time with the staff here and with the city council, I think they would be very impressed with the quality of their fellow residents, the human beings. And I can tell you, I thank you for your kind words, but I am more than embarrassed because I know what a woeful, small person I am. And I am, so blessed to even be able to try to serve the city in any capacity. And, it's a
Thank you very much for your humility and your leadership and your character and leading the city. And I feel extremely confident of the growth and development and success under your leadership. Well, how would you profile the city of Roswell just from a macro standpoint?
Roswell is a fantastic historical city. It's 175 years old. It's unique in some ways, really, and it's a city that, like most suburbs in the United States in the last 60 years, there's some commonality about suburban growth in first and second tier marketplaces, particularly on the north side of first and second tier cities or marketplaces. And Roswell is no exception to that. They usually grow organically. They grow without a great deal of intentionality. They grow without a great deal of planning, and a lot of the growth is reactionary. And I always say, if you look at the kind of the statistical norms and how suburbs grown over the last 60 years, you kind of see what I call an infill, an outfill, and a backfill. And so when we decided to get into this last year, we started thinking about running. We said, this is a pivotal time for this city. It's 175 years old. Some of the sister cities have been more aggressive and have done a better job of kind of seizing the day from the standpoint of understanding what they wanted to do. So we said this is a pivotal time for this city, and it would be real easy for this city, which is basically 100,000 people, to become 200,000 people in 20 years. You could load up the corridors with high-density multifamily projects. Developers are waiting in line to do that. It makes sense from a return on investment perspective. The appetite is there from the development community. But we said, if we don't get a hold of what this city looks like and come up with a plan for what the city looks like, not only 5 years from now, but 20 years from now, then we'll lose the destiny and the great charm and character that the city's had for the last 175 years. And so we kind of came up with a plan. We said, let's do something really kind of adverse to traditional planning from a standpoint of cities. Let's start with a population growth target in mind, which sounds illogical. So, because understanding that if we didn't control it, if we didn't start with target growth of population in mind, then it would get out of control. And long-term, the quality of life would be adversely affected. Property values would be adversely affected. And the overall, just Roswell being the great city that it is, would be adversely affected. So we said, let's start with a population target in 20 years of 120,000 people. Understanding there's 44 square miles in the city, 65% of that land is already taken up with single-family homes. And understanding that there's 40,000 residents who live on the east side of 400, where we've not had tremendous economic development in the last 10 years. And that there's a real challenge to redevelop that in a way that will be catalytic, not just for 2 or 3 years, but for 20 years. The flip side of that is understanding that Roswell has a strategic, huge geographic advantage in the sense that it has 7 contiguous miles on the Chattahoochee River, gigantic strategic advantage. And over 10 years ago, Roswell came up with a river master plan. It's a beautiful plan. Unfortunately, there just wasn't the political will to do it because it costs money. And so one of the very first things we did when we got into office, we said, we've got to activate this river master plan. The other thing we did is we looked at all the plans that Roswell's created in the last really 20 years, but we took a condensed period of time from 2010 to 2021 and came up with 113 plans. We took out the redundancy of those plans and basically took them down to approximately 50. We looked at the cost of just all those plans, not any really action on those plans. And we said, it's time for this city to take action. And so part of that is you probably saw that in the first 90 days that this staff and council were in office, they came up with the Oxbow Action Plan. And that was something that had been 15 years in the making. $15 million had been spent. And this group of people, the staff and the council, the city council, within 90 days came up with a brand new plan, activated it, $3 million, and going to have it done by Christmas of 2023. It's pretty amazing. The second thing is they came out with a 100-day plan with 11 criteria, 11 major objectives of things that said, we're going to get these done in the first 100 days. They got 7 of them done in the first 100 days. The remaining 4 got done just last week. The 4th got done. So all 11 have been done in 2022. And I would suggest that any one of those things would have been a dramatic accomplishment in years past. This council and staff got 11 of those things done by September in their year 1 of them being together. Pretty impressive stuff. Some of those things included like making the Roswell Police Force best in class in terms of pay. One of the things that wasn't on those in the top these 11 top objectives was something that wasn't on that this council and staff's already accomplished is creating a full-time fire department with a 5-year phase-in plan. Roswell is the largest city in the United States without a full-time fire department. And it's been known for a while. And the reason it's been done is it's costly. And yet this council and staff have come up with a way to get that done. And it's already 20% of that is going to be done in FY23. It's already budgeted, it's already begun, and it will be completed in 5 years. Lots of amazing things that this council and the city staff here in Roswell are doing. And for example, on the development side, I think we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about Southern Post. Southern Post will be completed next year, 2023. Next to it will be a fantastic Hyatt hotel. The West Alley project will begin construction new, and it'll be done in the latter part of 2024. I can tell you that there are a number of other projects right now that are in the incubation stage that are happening now in Roswell. Roswell is going to be very clear about the kind of projects it wants. It's going to be very clear and open to the development community about creating clarity about what those projects look like so the development community can make informed decisions. I think one of the challenges we've had over the last 20 years is we've had so many one-off fights, Lou, on development projects because there wasn't clarity about what did the long-term look like for Roswell. And for us, the long-term looks like we're going to be 120,000 people, but we're going to be the #1 family community in this great country of ours. And we're going to do that. And you're going to see property values continue to grow both on the residential side and the commercial side. And they're going to outpace even our fantastic sister cities like Alpharetta, Johns Creek, and Milton, which all have fantastic values themselves. You're going to see continuing, Lou, a spirit of ongoing interworking and cooperation with the North Fulton cities, Sandy Springs, Milton, Johns Creek, Alpharetta, and Mountain Park. You're going to see lots and lots of things continue to happen, I think, in a kind of a new watershed, really positive activity for the city of Roswell.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. It was an excellent profile of the city and where we're heading. And as a resident, I patronize Canton Street regularly. I can walk there from my house, actually. And that seems to be booming. There are all kinds of great restaurants. People throughout the city of Atlanta are familiar with Canton Street and all the restaurants. What's the future look like for Canton Street and as a dining kind of mecca for really the metro area?
You know, Lou, what's funny is 85% of the sales on Canton Street come outside of the zip codes 30075 and 30076. In other words, 85% of the people that go to Canton Street and dine and shop are from outside Roswell. What a tremendous success as a destination piece. And we're just beginning to incubate that. I will tell you, for example, we have 3 bonds, as you probably know, on the November ballot. One of those bonds is $25 million for a downtown parking garage, because we do have a parking problem in the city of Roswell downtown. So if we want to expand the opportunities for those businesses to grow and for new businesses to happen and flourish, we have to have the capacity for more visitors to be able to see us. We also have $102.8 million Parks and Rec bond. $20 million of that Parks and Rec bond is scheduled to be spent on the bike and pedestrian plan. You say, why is that important? Because we have a fantastic bike and pedestrian plan that we never funded. And so part of this is to fund that to help create more true walkability and bikeability in the city. And that will be seen the most in terms of effective use be downtown. People wanting to get downtown, because people don't just want to drive to downtown. They want to walk to downtown. They want to ride their bike to downtown. They want to drive their golf cart to downtown. And so we've got to improve and facilitate that happening. And so you're going to see more and more of that happening. The other thing that I kind of failed to bring up to you is when we started this, we created what we call 4 economic pods. So we kind of created a grand synergy of economic activity. One, we brought the traditional strong economic actor, Roswell, Inc. We said, look, let's start working together in a real way. City Hall and Roswell, Inc. You're a P3, but let's start coordinating our activities together. Steve Stroud's amazing, does a great job, and I'm so tickled that Steve's part of the economic development team here. 2, we hired an economic development director from New York City and brought him down here to begin true planning, macro planning of the economic development activity for the city. Brought in a real expert. The third part is we activated a new development authority primarily for the east side of our city called the RDA, the Roswell Development Authority. The fourth thing is, again, we synergized our activity. For example, the hotel next to the Southern Post project. That project was scheduled to go with the Fulton County Development Authority. We reached out to those folks and said, hey, use our downtown development authority. You'll get better service. We'll do a better job of taking care of you. They'll do a better job of taking care of you. And that happened as a consequence. And we're very excited because it's a Roswell business person working with the Roswell DDA. And it's going to be a Roswell project right next to Southern Post. A great success story. Just happened in the last few months. But the thing that I failed to share with you is we created 4 economic pods. One of those pods is basically to address Canton Street, is from the river, activating the river master plan, all the way up Highway 9 to Holcomb Bridge. That's the first pod. The second pod is coming down from Alpharetta, up the city limits of Alpharetta, all the way down Highway 9 to Holcomb Bridge. The third pod is there at that intersection of Highway 9 and Holcomb Bridge, going east to Georgia 400. And the fourth pod is coming from Gwinnett County, going west to Georgia 400. 4 economic pods. Then we've also hired a master planner, the Sizemore Group, to begin master planning the first intersection where 3 of those economic pods intersect right there at Highway 9 and 92. And we're doing that is because we think it affects 3 areas. We think it creates catalytic activity going north on Highway 9. We think it creates catalytic activity going south on Highway 9 towards Canton Street. And we think it creates catalytic activity going east, going toward George 400. So we kind of use that as our first kind of zone to begin our master planning. The master planning will also happen on the other side, on the east side, beginning there at where the Bridgemore properties are, where the Publix and Home Depot properties are across from Kimberly Clark. So you're going to see that being intentionally master planned by this city. So a lot of synergy of a lot of economic activity and cohesion and alignment in a way that's probably never occurred to create real economic cohesion and intentionality about what we want and what we want the results to look like. Not just this year, not just 3 years from now, but 20 years from now. Because this will be the #1 family community in America. And if you're a realtor, the values in this city are going to continue to grow from a property perspective, from an individual on the individual side and on the commercial side. Canton Street, you will continue to see very smart development happen in this corridor. As the Gateway project gets figured out, which we're working on with the state right now, and that project actually comes to fruition, which is 25 years old as a concept. And we're working actively with the state, trying to get that thing moved forward so we can finish the Gateway project, get it started and get it going, and then help bring cohesive development south of Canton Street and north of Canton Street. Canton Street will continue to grow in a very positive way, but I think one of the things that's important is it won't lose its charm. It will not be. One of the great things about Roswell is a city of tremendous diversity, tremendous culture, forgive me, tremendous. It is so full of flavor, and Canton Street's a great example of that. And Canton Street will continue to have that great flavor, kind of uniqueness to it.
Yeah, I know that there are many people who look at Roswell as kind of a nice historical place to visit. Lots of history, and it's kind of a little of a flavor of kind of a historical kind of town. What are we doing to preserve that kind of paradigm?
Lou, we've been spending a lot of time that currently historical assets is under recreation and parks, civic, cultural affairs, and historical assets. It's one giant program. Jeff Leatherman, the director, does a great job. The city historically has bought some of these properties, but really didn't have a plan for them. And they've kind of been, there's been not a fantastic execution of monetizing those assets or a plan with those assets. It's interesting, Lou, when you start looking at the numbers, we got a lot of work to do from the standpoint of really making Roswell that destination place for these fantastic historical assets that we have in the city. So we're working on plans right now on a historical assets program that we think will carry itself forward for the next 20 years. We're literally right in the throes of working on that, because when we start looking at the numbers of the actual visits to our historical assets, they're not anywhere near what we thought they were. And so we have the city, the residents of the city have such significant investment dollar-wise in these historical assets. So it's time as a city that we figure out how to deliver on the expenditures, on the investment that our residents have made. But I will give you one thing. I'm a big believer in Barrington, that Barrington needs to be opened up as a gateway to our city. It's a beautiful place. And I would like it to be, one of the things we're talking about is giving it more visibility so that people coming up Highway 9 or 120 can see this amazing historic property. We also need to figure out how to activate Bullock Avenue in a way to make it more travel friendly from a walkability perspective for people who want to visit historical assets.
Mayor, one of the things, that driving force that motivates people to pick a place to live, work, and play would be the schools. How would you profile the public school and private school environment of Roswell?
You know, Lou, we moved here in January of 1998. We have 4 daughters, as you mentioned earlier. Our oldest daughter in 1998 was 5. So she was scheduled to go to elementary school. My wife, again, being a lot smarter than me, found a house we could barely afford back in January of 98. There was a house across the county line in Cherokee that was a little more expensive. A little less expensive, a little nicer. And so I was kind of moving towards that house. But my wife said, hey, dummy, my kid's going to Mountain Park Elementary. Mountain Park Elementary is the #1 elementary school in the state. And by the way, one day this city needs to build a statue to Carol Clark, who was the 30-year principal of Mountain Park Elementary from the late 60s to the late 90s. She retired the year after my daughters retired in 1999. But Carol Clark probably did as much for the changing the landscape through the super success of Mountain Park Elementary as any single person that's lived in the city. She did an amazing job because she built the best elementary school in the state of Georgia, to your point. And to your point is that Roswell has fantastic schools, both on the public side and the private side. When we moved here, Lou, in 1998, there were no private schools over here. Now there's a ton. And so it's a great mix of both public and private schools. And so I think it's one of the things as a parent, as a young parent, when you come up here and you say, well, I want my kids to go to school, you got some great choices.
Another key motivating factor or criteria is the cultural environment, and Roswell has that cultural arts center that I wondered if you could just profile a little bit.
Well, I would tell you, my youngest daughter, my fourth daughter, spent her last year in the Joffrey Ballet in New York City. And she did that, Lou, as a consequence of being in the Roswell Stars dance program for 12 years. So think about that. That speaks about the Roswell Recreation and Parks program. The dance program is so good that it created a product like my kid to be good enough to go to something like the Joffrey Ballet. That's pretty amazing. And the reason I share that with you is I can't tell you how many fun events, performances I have gone to the Cultural Events Center to go see my daughter. It's a wonderful place. It's a charming place. It's very Roswell. Roswell is so charming. And for those who haven't been here, this is such a cool city. It's such a different city. We are a part of the ARC, the Atlanta, the part of the giant Northern Atlanta growth apparatus. And that's why it's so important that we continue to carve out our destiny in a very unique way, because we are a unique city. And we are a place that when people visit us, they say, that's where I want to live.
The other thing that is a key generator of profit and revenue are the hotel taxes, and based on number of the hotels and the volume of visitors. Tell us a little bit about the hotel industry in Roswell. You mentioned there were 2 new ones coming.
Yeah, it's right. You've got the projects, the Hyatt Boutique that's going to come next to the Southern Post project, and then the West Alley project there in downtown Cannon Street, which is a fantastic project as well. And those are really needed for our downtown traffic because we have so many visitors coming to visit us here in downtown Roswell. And one of the things we're working on, Lou, is to create more destination, i.e. on the east side through our development, the intentional development of what we want, because we do need more hotels, honestly, in this city. But I will tell you, these hotels that we have are doing fabulous. As you can tell by the resources that the CVB has through the taxation through the hotels. Our hotels here are great places for people to come visit us.
So what about we're flashing in your, which you cannot see, or of your website there, about retail. What is the retail climate like there in Roswell, here in Roswell, I should say?
Well, retail, commercial business we have Roswell is 94,000 people, and people think that there's more people that leave Roswell than come into Roswell. It's interesting. Roswell is 145,000 daytime population, which tells you a lot. I will tell you that we have a lot of tremendously successful commercial businesses in the city, on both sides of the city. The west side has been more affluent from the standpoint of commercial success, and we're going to work on getting that solved so we have more affluent, successful businesses on the east side as well.
And what about the office space environment? Define that a little bit for us and the future of that industry in Roswell.
I will tell you, unfortunately, I wish I could share with you something that I do know, but I don't have permission to share yet, about a fantastic office complex that we will be getting in this city very soon. And it will be, I think, very exciting to our residents, and it will be in a great place for our residents. And it'll be the right kind of office space that I think people will be very excited about. Office space, obviously, is an interesting thing, Lou. Nobody, I think, really truly knows the answer to that question from the standpoint of what happens to the macro atmosphere of office space. There's a lot of different opinions on it. But a great place for office is Roswell, because Roswell is a community where people do wish to live, and they want to live closer to where they work. And so office works in Roswell in a very positive way.
it's on the minds of everybody is the concept of working from home and how that will impact office space. What's your crystal ball say about that dimension?
If you'd asked me 24 months ago, I'd go, oh yeah. No, nobody's going back to the office. It's going to be a virtual, and people love it at home. They get to play the golf or go to the garden or spend more time with the kids, and they're more productive, et cetera, et cetera. It's funny how life moves in circles and cycles so often. And I think this work thing's a perfect example. Even here at City Hall, we had a virtual experience and still do to some extent. But you've probably seen the same thing. If you look at the macro marketplace, you're seeing more and more employers are saying, gee, whiz, I need you back in the office. It just makes such a difference from the standpoint of cohesion of messaging, cohesion of alignment, cohesion of strategy, cohesion of execution. So my little crystal ball, for what little it's worth, is I think that you'll see more dynamic office activity than what is currently being projected, because I think that cycle will come back. Will it be the heyday of what it was 10 years ago? I don't think so. But I don't think office is dead. And more importantly, office in the right places is alive and viral, because an office in places like Roswell make a lot of sense because people want to be close to where they live. And this is a place where people want to live.
Mayor Wilson, thank you for your service to our country and now to our great community and the great city of Roswell. And I'm sure the city's in good hands with your leadership, but we very much appreciate the contributions that you're making to our well-being. And again, thank you for watching our program. It's on my website, atlantacommunityprofiles.com. It will be sent out to all of the realtors. And if I can help you in any way, my email is lou@louwieland.com. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.